Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 14th meeting for the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. Let's see, roll call. Let's do roll call first.
Thank you. Committee member Rosemary Chara, Michael Toe. I see him online. Judith Gilo. There you are. Thank you, Michael. Judith Gilo, Jeff Arbor, Dickie Fernandez, Dean Fisher, Daniel Baum, Cindy Brenneman, Annette Watson, Vice Chair Sue Lester, and Chair Elodie Katz. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to public comment.
No, Madam Chair.
Moving right along, thank you. So before I get into the minutes from the last meeting, something came to our attention that should have been presented at last month's or the previous meeting in July. So we were going to discuss it and see if we want to take a vote to discuss it tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So Chair Katz brought to our attention an important item that we need to bring forward to the committee for your approval consideration, and that's your work plan for the year. According to the city's handbook, the chair would meet with myself and the board president, and we would go over a work plan for the fiscal year. We did that. We shared that with the board in June, and they approved it. However, we just didn't bring that plan back to the CAC for your review. So in order, because it's not on the agenda today for you to review, we can't take emergency action because it is pertaining to your work plan for the CAC for this coming fiscal year. I would need someone to make a motion to take emergency action to review the 22-23 work plan, and then it has to be approved by 3/4 votes of you. And if that's approved, then we would disseminate the work plan to the community members, and then you can make comments or take action on that appropriately. So that's what we need.
And I apologize. This really should have been in the July meeting, and I just, with it so jam-packed, I just forgot about it. So I apologize. Would anyone like to make a motion to discuss it tonight?
The other option, if you don't want to discuss tonight, we sure. If you don't want to discuss tonight, we could go to the next meeting, which is November. But then you're pretty much halfway through. Right. Right.
Yeah, I make the motion.
Sure.
Okay, I would move to discuss it tonight.
Want to make a motion to discuss the 22-23 work plan?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to discuss the 2022-2023 CAC work plan. Thank you, Dean. Okay, all those in favor of discussing it tonight? Does it need to be a roll call vote or? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, so for the record, that was a unanimous decision. Okay.
And then are we able, I know we have guests tonight. I don't want to.
Yeah, so Nolai's going to distribute the work plan for you. And I think she also emailed it to community member Michael Toe.
Thank you so much. Is it appropriate to discuss it now, or do we have to wait to the end of the meeting?
No, you can wait. You can discuss it. I mean, I think make sure all the community members have it.
So I could just take everyone through it really quickly.
Sure.
So when we met in May, what we were really focusing on was SB 1383. So almost every meeting focuses on some element of that, while also trying to balance things like the SSMP audit findings, the fog control program, kind of things that happen every year, every other year, trying to make sure we address those as well. Let's see. So for tonight, we were kind of really focusing on SB 1383 rollout, reviewing Newport Beach's rollout, what our plan is, recycling 101, what goes into the blue cart, the future blue cart, and then also the third solid waste characterization study. The SSMP audit we had slated for tonight, but I believe that's going to get pushed because it's not ready at this time. And we were also trying to make it I know our meetings have been going to almost exactly 7:30, so we were trying to make it so that each session wasn't too jam-packed and that we had sufficient time to discuss every item. Let's see, so for November 9th, and then we're also trying to get some capital programs in here as well, like the Eldon Forest Main Redundancy Project, fog control program assessment, and then of course CR&R's annual performance audit. We wanted to make sure that got discussed. In January, we wanted to come back and talk again about the 3-car system rollout for SB 1383 compliance, the PAFR financial report, another solid waste characterization study. And then this was something we discussed a few meetings ago, but circling back and having a longer discussion about comments and suggestions regarding methods for reaching traditionally hard to reach populations as we get closer to rolling out the 3 carts, and making sure that if there were any additional ideas that the CAC members could contribute, that we discuss those. And then March, again, another update on SB 1383 as it evolves. This one I think was actually a carryover from last year, but it's very exciting, that possibility of a biomass conversion project. So
Yes, we will have an update on that.
that'll be in March, up in spring, of course. And then Cmsd zone performance measurement report, the capital improvement plan update. And then I think this was an idea we were talking about, how local real estate agents can notify Cmsd about new residents to try to make sure everyone understands about the 3-cart system and all our changes that have been happening. And then May was a little light, but there was, we were going to talk about the biennial budget. Again, the rollout plan for SB 1383, and then the results of the alkaline recycling program, battery recycling program with the schools. So that was kind of our roadmap, but I'd be curious if anyone has any suggestions, anything you think is missing. It's a bit heavy on the trash side of things because of SB 1383. If you think, just curious to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like anything added. Or Rosemary, yes, please.
On the March 8th meeting, item number 5, provide comments for and suggestions on a notification with real estate agencies about new residents. That might be helpful for new home buyers, but it might be maybe more comprehensive to work with the water district. Every property has to have a water account for that to be like a viable place to live. And I think you would get, a lot more information on new residents in our community.
That's an excellent suggestion. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments? Or
I just kind of have a question about code enforcement. Like, when our code enforcement is gonna start enforcing the new guidelines, and where we could tuck that in here somewhere, just so it's.
You're talking about SB 1383? Yeah, we don't require to issue fines until 2024. So you won't, we'll give out warning notices at this time, or to educate the public. So that's our intent around that for 2022 and 2023, is just to educate the public. So if we're finding, like you'll have a presentation later today by Mike Valle about a waste characterization study where we found a lot of contaminations in that particular neighborhood we did the study on. We sent out letters to those neighborhoods informing them of the new law and what is required. If this continues in 2024, then either our code enforcement officer or CR&R, we still have to make that decision, or maybe the city would issue that fine. So you want to talk about code enforcement procedures?
Just maybe like a simple update. You know, I know it's primarily education, but I would imagine while they're educating people, they're going to be keeping track of what's happening, right? I just think that might be a valuable thing for us to know, so we can help educate people as well. We see kind of the hiccups that you guys are seeing officially.
Where are we discussing education and outreach in this plan when it comes to 1383?
It meant for that to be included in the discussed proposed rollout plan for so it comes up,
What month?
February and March.
it comes up repeatedly, actually. So tonight, I believe, item number 2, it doesn't say education specifically, but the intent was that the rollout plan would include some component of education or training.
We can,
But we
it-
can
it-
add that more
yes.
specifically if you'd like.
Well, that might,
That's what Sue was saying.
yeah, and also discuss the role of code enforcement during that, because even when they are able to enforce and issue fines, I find oftentimes that code enforcement relies heavily on education and outreach before they fine and even while they are issuing that citation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yep.
Then Michael, I apologize, I can't see you. Michael, do you have any feedback?
No feedback. Thanks.
Okay. And do we need to make an official motion?
No, no official motion, it's just for your review and comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so moving right along. We have to do item G1, approve the minutes from last meeting, July 13th. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting from July 13th, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. Consider appointing 2 CAC members to serve on the policy review ad hoc committee.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair. You just saw in your work schedule for your November 9th meeting, but we moved this up one earlier because it was brought to my attention from the HR department that this committee reviews several policies in the district, and these policies have many pages. And so it's a committee that consists basically of two CAC members, 2 board members, and staff. And we meet based on how often the committee felt we need to meet, but it reviews all the policies, making sure that everything's updated to date. And then eventually we bring it back to the board for approval consideration. We moved it up a little earlier this year is because we do want to get it done early 2023, because that's what the year I believe we start applying for our district distinction accreditation over at the California Special District Associations. And one of the requirements is to make sure that we review our policies and procedures to make sure they're updated. I do envision that the committee will be meeting for several months. It's not going to be a one-time thing, so it does take a bit of a commitment. So. But we are looking for two volunteers who want to serve on this committee. We're going to the board, I think either later this month or I think we're going later this month to request appointments.
How many meetings it was last time, because I know Monty was on that committee.
Right.
And then left and I took his place, but
Right.
literally 2 meetings when I came, and so it's kind of over already. And I would be happy to serve on that committee if I have a better idea of the amount of time it's gonna take. I don't want to sign up for something I can't follow through with.
Well, I think a lot of it's going to be reviewing on your own at home, because we'll give you the documents and you'll be reviewing it and make any suggestions. That we all come together and we share those changes. The committee itself probably won't last longer than an hour, right? But I think most of the time will be reviewing the documents at your leisure. That's where you take most of your time, and that I can't tell you how much that will take.
I'm happy to do that. That's anyway.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to volunteer? Yeah, indeed. Excellent. Excellent. Happy to have you.
I need a motion. Yeah, I need a motion in a second.
All those in favor of nominating Vice Chair Lester and Committee Member Fisher to the Policy Review Ad Hoc Committee, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, it carries. Thank you so much. Thank you for volunteering. Okay, so that's item B3, receive and file waste composition study number 3 for Michael Ballier.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think you've met Mike Abaya, but I introduce him again. Mike Abaya is our consultant. He's our solid waste expert. He goes out and does these waste composition studies, which is a requirement of SB 1383 to determine if residents are separating their food scraps and green waste from the trash and making sure that their green waste and food scraps not contamination. So he's going to share the results of this study and then also talk about what we did after the study was conducted on how we educated the public. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everybody. This was our third study that we've actually done. And again, for those who weren't here for the thrilling recounting of last time, we have the trash truck dump. We spread the material out in about a 2-foot high pile. We set down different cones to create grids. And then we scientifically used the DICE program on my phone. So 1 roll for one way, 2 for the other way. So we randomly select between 200 and 300 pounds. That's the state standard for estimating an entire truckload. So we did the T3 route this time, which is kind of east and west side on Wilson, also Santa Isabel. And it was about a 7.8 ton load. About 51% of it turned out to be difficult to recycle material, trash. Again, some of that's recovered through the advanced material recovery facility that CRNR has. But what we're trying to do in our studies up through this one is identify prohibited container contaminants. That would be your green waste and your food waste going into the trash, which is one of those items that the state's saying can no longer happen. In 2024 is when enforcement measures would start. So to kind of get a ballpark with where everybody else is at. The other thing that we're doing is we're identifying cardboard and paper because those are identified organic waste per SB 1383. And then also beverage containers, since those are the materials that would be going in the blue cart. We're trying to come up with a percentage of the load. So we can go to page 2, which has the nice picture of our trash pile. And again, that was all plastics 3 through 7. I think CRNR can recycle some of those, but they tend to be more difficult, particularly with China's green sword policy. So, palm, pet waste, diapers, textiles, multi-materials, that would be like a piece of wood that has a piece of metal screwed into it or something like that, that just can't be recycled conveniently. And then, indistinguishable grit is one of my favorites. So food waste, the next photo down below was actually a bigger component. It was nearly 18% of what we found. And really we saw a lot of bags that were clearly kitchen trash bags that had a lot of food in them that were just tied up and thrown in the trash. So again, at 18%, that's a little bit higher than we've seen before. So again, we recommended some outreach to that area. The next grouping, the recyclable containers, was a fairly large percentage. I think we had a little bit more glass this time, which causes the weight to be heavier than aluminum and plastic. And then let's go to the following page. So green waste, there was very little green waste, and that could either be because everybody on Route T3 is doing a very good job of sorting that material into the organics container. But there was also a little higher percentage of multifamily properties on this route. And so again, they may have landscapers removing some of their green waste, so it would never hit the cart. But anyways, no issue really with green waste coming in. It was a very small amount, just under 5% of the waste surveyed. So cardboard and paper was the next one. It was heavier than our last sort, but we did notice that a lot of the cardboard and paper was a bit damp. That probably has to do with the food being in there. And that would be one of the challenges with the two-cart system is, are they able to recover all the cardboard and paper? Or does the food cross-contaminate? So again, with the summary, we're looking for prohibited container contaminants. And as the table down at the bottom there shows, we were at about 20%. So if we could scroll down just a bit. Yeah, so the blue container material, the obvious, the paper, the plastic, and the beverage containers was at nearly 30% of the load. And then 51% was trash. And so the following page has a bigger table that shows all the different components that we target. Now, going forward, we might do a different sampling methodology to identify how much of that paper and cardboard is wet and therefore difficult to recycle. And again, we're trying to coordinate with CR&R to do 2 or 3 routes at the same time. So hopefully the next presentation I give you has 3 different areas for us to review at once. But basically that's our study. And again, at 20% contamination, it's not horrible, but again, the state is wanting to eliminate it altogether. So again, educational material was sent out, and so the folks on that route were just reminded, hey, please put your food waste in the Greenways container. So that's all I have. If there are any questions, you can get into that, or we can.
Will you be doing another study of the same routes again?
We're trying to do every route in the city within the year. That would be ideal. So again, that's why we're trying to coordinate to do 3 routes in the next sort, and then 3 more. You have 8 trash routes in the city. So we're doing a different one every time, just to kind of get a baseline. And then based on your education, your outreach efforts, the following year, you do the same exercise and hopefully see lower contamination rates. That mean, hey, our education is working, people are getting it. And again, the statute, the way it's written is in 2024, there has to be enforcement measures. Now that can include a, more stringent warning, not necessarily going to be anybody going out slapping fines on containers if there's food in there. But, that's the state's way of saying, okay, we've got to push this along. We've got 2 years to educate and get better. But at some point we have to, develop ramifications if people aren't doing what the law prescribes.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When you're talking about the paper and the cardboard being wet, are you distinguishing food making it wet, or is it just getting wet from water or rain?
Good question. There were some liquids in bottles inside the container, so it's possible that liquids opened up. The cardboard and paper, I would say about 10% of it was greasy to where you could tell that's food residue on it. Other than that, it was just generally moist, and that could be from containers under compaction, popping, and then the water spreads out. They weren't soaking, sopping wet. Those we would, note as a big problem. It's just they were a bit damp, and so again, I think in the next survey, trying to break out the damp from the dry would be a good exercise, a good thing to add, because that would show what you would be picking up as far as diversion from going to a 3-cart system potentially.
The heat and the humidity have helped with.
Right, either.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a pressure cooker inside that compactor on some days, but we did this sort, I think at 10:30 or 11 in the morning, and this was July 13th, so it wasn't the height of the heat wave. So
The weather was still nice then.
yeah.
This is Jeff Arbor.
Microphone. Too fast. There we go. So it sounds like the purpose of this is to, in compliance with 1383, create a baseline so that improvement can be measured over time, right? And this was a thought that occurred to me. I don't know if it's helpful. Could this information be used to help right size the bins? I saw the cardboard, right, and paper, which is a significant percent by weight, but probably more significant by volume.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't know
good
if that's
point.
the
But
purpose.
potentially that's why we're breaking cardboard, paper and beverage containers out, since those would be the material that are likely to go in the new blue container. So seeing what percentage that is of the trash container. If somebody has 2 trash containers now, and they might be able to go down to 1, that 30% figure, helps. It helps, and over the course of the 8 sorts, we'll see what the average is. So again, you have some customers that have a couple trash containers and they're used to a couple. Ideally, they migrate, that material over to the recycling container.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other committee members have questions? Yes.
There you go.
Shall. Or else.
Under penalty.
Too permissive?
It just seems a little soft in considering the legislation that's coming out. I don't know if that's been, just speaking for myself in our house, this is not getting driven home with my wife at all. And maybe she hadn't seen that first letter that really clearly laid out SB 1383 and all the ramifications of that. I just saw this quick and easy to read flyer. Well, the quick and easy to read flyer kind of doesn't really lead you down the path that you really need to take this seriously.
That's a good point, actually. When people do get the outreach after from the audit, are they getting about SB 1383 as a mailer in the mail, and then these flyers that Dean's?
That's a good question. I didn't craft that, so I don't know if that came from you folks, Mike, or if it came from the district. If it said, hey, we found contamination in your containers, do a better job.
I imagine so. There was some really, I was actually going to talk about that. There are flyers attached to the report. But I see Dean's point. If they missed somehow the letter, perhaps that little flyer that might be attached to their trash part might not be. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oh, yes. Perfect.
I just want to say that my experience with public education and outreach, it's sometimes easier to lure them in with what you should be doing or what you can do. Sometimes when you hit too heavy with the regulation, people become very reactive and then resistant. And so you'll see this strategy used like with code enforcement or law enforcement, where they come across as being informative and helpful versus being regulatory and punitive. And sometimes I think the saying is you get more, is it bees with honey or something like that? It's a fine line.
You have to make people want to participate, but the sad truth of the matter is, if you don't hit people in the wallet, they have no reason not to. A lot of people have to forcibly be shown that they have to do things a certain way, and that's just sad and true in some cases. So it's a very slippery slope, and you are both absolutely right.
Yeah, and in 2024, I think that's when the option becomes available and how we move forward with enforcement and monetary fines. But just like with, say, water conservation, it really is talking about like, wow, we need your help and this is what you can do to help us. And most municipalities will have fines for like water wasting or, stuff running down the curb. But if you look at that model, a lot of it really is very light and friendly and oftentimes targeted towards children to get the adults to do the right thing first.
SB 1383, is it required to do such a similar characterization study on the organic spins? Or are they only required for the?
Well, they want to know the prohibited container contaminants. And again, CRNR's experience with your containers has been about a 95+% materials in the organic bin. So that's why we're looking at the trash container. So again, that is kind of unique in that your trash container really isn't. It's a trash and recycling mix. But in a lot of cities that have a 3-container program, they will still look at the trash because that's going to go straight to the landfill. So that's the one they want you to survey to see what should have gone in another container. The other 2 are sorted at a facility, so they'll know generally what your contamination level is.
This is probably a silly question, but I just want to clarify, cardboard and paper are organics?
They're considered organic waste because they come from trees, is my assumption, but they're identified as organic waste in the regulation. So
And I'm glad this came up because I actually did have some neighbors who were asking me, they said, well, we can put cardboard with our compost pile. Why can't we put that in organic bins?
well, it again, paper is not a huge contaminant to the process, but it's not ideal because again, after their dry anaerobic digestion system is gathering the gas, they're making a compost product. And again, paper should break down in that, but again, if somebody says, oh, paper can go in, then they may throw in envelopes with a plastic window, or they may throw in a magazine or something. And so higher purpose, yeah, higher use. Yep, exactly.
Just one comment too. Again, 1383 is really a climate focused legislation, right? So I think when cardboard and paper products are landfill, they still generate methane, right, and landfill gas, and so I think that's why you'd want to at least set it aside and get it out of the trash bin and into recycling. But I understand, yeah, it depends where the organics bin is going. But I don't think paper and cardboard fit too well in composting or 80. It's too fibrous. That was my understanding.
Michael, do you guys have any comments?
No comment from me.
Daniel, I asked a question, and I just looking at the attachments too. I just wanted to thank the district staff. I love there was a flyer that very clearly called out that people can request organics cart. There's no additional cart. I still run into so many people in my neighborhood who don't know that. So thank you for calling that out. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I can pay for everyone who has just one cart out and they have Greenways in their landfill bin and anyway. So thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item B4, recycling 101. What goes in the blue cart or future blue cart, and where do recyclables go to be recycled?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can, a favor, if we can delay item number 4 and maybe move up to number 5, because we do have another guest speaker and I don't want to keep him here too long. So if that's okay, could we go to, I'm sorry. Yeah, number 5, item number 5.
The Newport Beach. rollout.
Yes, is that okay?
That's, do we need to take an official?
No,
I
as long as I
think
don't
that's
hear any
appropriate.
opposition. So, okay, thank you. So, This item, as you might be familiar, prior to SB 1383, Newport Beach, the city of Newport Beach, they threw away their trash the old fashioned way. Basically, they just put it in bags, put it out on the curb. Recycling was not mandatory. They didn't have to require, they didn't have to recycle green waste. Well, now with SB 1383, they had to do the whole 3-cart system. And so total change in behavior. And so we thought it'd be great to have Mike Carey, our former CSC chair and now senior sustainability manager at CRNR. He's going to share with us the lessons learned of rolling out the 3-cart systems over at Newport Beach. So turn over to Mike.
Thank you, Scott and Chair Katz. As Scott mentioned, I'm here to kind of go over what we've learned in Newport Beach rolling out these programs. It has been very unique. There's been things that I've been really surprised about rolling out all of these. But today's September 15th, we got the contract and started this program January 15th of this year. So it is pretty fresh. As Scott mentioned previously, to us having this, the new program in Newport Beach, residents were allowed to put out as much trash as they want in any way that they want. They could put it out in bags, they could put out boxes, they could have their own barrels if they wanted to, and there was no limit. They could request our trash carts or our waste carts if they wanted them. They could have an unlimited amount of carts. And on top of that, the residents of Newport Beach, to this day, they don't pay for their waste disposal services. It's free for the residents of Newport Beach. The city covers it as part of their out of the property taxes paid to the city. So there was no disincentive to reduce the amount of garbage that you had. As part of the new program, Newport Beach residents did receive trash carts, recycling carts, and organic carts. So all of these were new programs to them. The residents that did have carts of ours were limited to having one trash cart. You get, no matter what, you get one trash cart for free. You can have up to 2 recycling carts and 2 organic carts. And that's at no cost to the residents. If you want additional carts of any cart type, there is a fee associated with that. So now that would be the only thing that Newport Beach residents would have to pay for are these additional carts. As part of rolling this out, we had to obviously do a big public outreach campaign, notifying the residents of, I mean, it was all brand new. Every single aspect of it was new to them. And people were like, our trash is free. I don't want to be limited in how much we can have. We had a lot of residents that did have our carts that now did not want to pay for those extra carts. The billing, we started billing for extra trash carts beginning July 1st of this year. So we had a huge turn in of people returning carts that extra carts that they had. It was not uncommon for us to have residences that had 15 trash carts. And then they said, I want to surrender 14 of those because I don't want to pay for them anymore. There is now fines for having non-containerized trash. So as I mentioned before, they were allowed to put everything out on the curb in bags any way they had it. So now if it's non-containerized, we're doing the education push on it now that it has to be within the container so the automated vehicle can come and pick it up. If it is non-containerized, there is a fee for that. It's a very nominal fee. So we are finding some residents trying to work their way around. I don't want to get it out publicly, but here I am saying it on the, theoretically, you could have 3 non-containerized pickups per month and still pay less for that than you would for paying for an extra trash cart. So there's a workaround that some people are kind of figuring out right now. So that is one lesson learned. I think Costa Mesa Sand District is in a better place rolling out the organics carts to the exempt locations that you have within the district service area right now. There's only approximately 2,000 residents that don't have organic carts within the city now. Costa Mesa was the first city in Southern California to implement an organics program in 2015. So here we are in 2022, introducing an organics program for Newport Beach. We did get, as one might expect with this new contract and new programs and everything new to the residents, we did get quite a few refusals, people refusing, I don't want, let alone did they not want an organics cart or recycling cart. They don't even want a trash cart. They want to do it the way they always had. I am resistant to change. I don't want to do anything different. We got that. There's a big educational component. We did have to issue, again, trash containers to people that didn't have any trash containers. We had to give them to them. Part of the city contract with Newport is if a resident refuses a recycling cart or any of the carts for that matter, we have to attempt 3 times to deliver them a cart and explain increased education and explanation of the program and the legislation 3 times to them. And if they still refuse, then we have to refer them to the city, who does further more punitive outreach and telling them they have to have these containers. As one might imagine, the largest complaint that we get, especially for organics, is that I don't have space for it and I don't have any organics. If you can kind of envision Newport Beach, it is, for being very homogenized, it is very diverse in the types of properties that there are in Newport Beach. There's very large properties and there's very small properties. We are getting a lot of refusals from both types of properties, that I don't have space in Newport Coast when they have a 8,000 square foot home. But we are also getting ones obviously on the peninsula that have no yard. They're very impacted. Another challenge is the short-term rentals, especially down on the peninsula. It's hard to educate and engage a transitory community of the importance of 1383 and separating your organics and food waste. One of the benefits of being able to do that with both the refusals and the new carts in general is the opportunity of right-sizing the carts, like you had mentioned. I have a staff of 30 people that represent different communities within our service region. I have 2 sustainability specialists that their sole job is educating the residents about how to separate and the need, and explaining the law and the regulations. And we actually go out and right-size the containers for them. If they say, I've got a family of 4, I need 2 trash cans, I only need 1 recycling and 1 organics. We go out and we talk to them and review what they're throwing away. Typically, we can get them into 1 trash can, 1 recycling can, and explain it to them. And it is surprising how many come back to us and say, you know what, this is right. This is it's easier than I thought. Even though they were naysayers at the beginning, they found that it's easier than they thought. So that was a pleasant surprise. The next biggest complaint that we get, especially with organics, and I'm sure you did with your initial rollout here, is it stinks. I don't want to put my food waste and organics in a container and have it separated. It gets bugs, it smells. But a good response to that is that you're already throwing that stuff away. It's already in a container. It's in your trash container now. You're just putting it into a different container. And we offer solutions on how to minimize the negative aspects of that, whether it be using baking soda or with the little kitchen pails, and I'll show in a second, taking those bags and putting them in a freezer. People don't like that idea, but the people that do that appreciate the convenience of it, and it eliminates all of those problems that you have. So we have, again, part of our contract issue all the residents a kitchen pail. Right now, we've been doing it by request. We're fulfilling all the requests that people that really want it, giving those first, and then towards the later months of the contract or the first year, we're going to just drop them off. The contract stipulates that we can't just drop them off at the front door. We have to perform what's called a knock and talk. So we have to go to the door, and it's the same thing with the cart refusals. We have to go 3 times. If they don't answer the door, we have to go back, which is a challenge of that is that
All your extra people.
with, yeah, all 2 of my people going through, now mind you, Newport's 28,000 residents. So we incorporated both Newport Beach and Newport Coast under this one contract. And it stipulates we have to knock and talk. If the people don't answer, we have to go back 2 more times. Challenges, we're doing that during 8 to 5 business hours. And even if people are home, they're not answering their door. So we got to make 3 stabs at it before we can just drop it and talk. We have been getting quite a few requests for the pails. One of the surprises, if we're talking about lessons learned, is we had several hundred people who refused the organics carts but want a kitchen pail, which doesn't make sense. We don't offer them to them until we can successfully give them an organics cart, because the pail is in enhancement to the organics cart. It's not a standalone program. The one other huge surprise to me, and I never would have thought this, and I doubt that you guys had heard many of these, but the amount of people that literally thought that they can take this pail and put it out at the curb and it would get serviced by an automated vehicle. I was shocked at the amount of it. It's been hundreds of people that have said that. I have to tell you, it is kind of entertaining. The other surprise to me is that, or the excuse that people use to not be engaged with the organics program is that they take all of their food waste and they put it down their garbage disposal. That is more common of a comment than I ever would have thought. I was always taught that you only put down the garbage disposal, but you can't scrape off your plate. I kind of tell them that I want to be your plumber if that's what you're doing. That would be a good job. The other thing that we've been offering, and I'm not sure that would be applicable here, but I'm going to mention it anyway, is that me or in general? Okay. In Newport has a lot of multifamily properties that have bin service for their collection. So they have larger dumpsters rather than the carts. And for those that have HOAs with dumpster service, it's difficult to put an organics cart at every townhome or condo that has dumpster service. So we still have to implement a program. So on a limited basis, we're doing communal collection of organics materials, even for some of the properties that have cart collection. We're, with the approval of the city, we're placing communal collection of organics carts, but it's the responsibility of the HOA to do the outreach and education and make sure the residents are participating in that program. That would be targeted with the city for enforcement to be able to look into the trash containers and see if residents are actually utilizing the organics carts. CMSD only oversees multifamily properties of 4 units or less, and those would all have cart services. So I don't anticipate your previously exempt customers requesting to have communal collection. I don't see that happening, but you may. And again, you guys have roughly 2,000 more residents that are currently exempt that will not be exempt moving forward. That's pretty much all I have. Do you guys have any questions? I know that was really rapid fire of all these nuances, but.
Newport, does CR&R oversee any commercial there at all?
It's similar to Costa Mesa in that the commercial properties in Newport are free to choose whatever hauler they want for their commercial services.
Multi-carriers like we do.
Correct.
But is CR&R gonna target, if you are a hauler in that city, are you gonna target your commercial customers, or is that just falling under the city umbrella with however they choose to do it?
No, we're personally engaging our commercial customers as well, similar to what we're doing in Costa Mesa. The city is mandating that we engage those.
And was the engagement for the customers in Costa Mesa supposed to have commenced by now?
It varies. We have rolled out a lot of food waste carts to both larger multifamily properties that are considered commercial, as well as traditional commercial properties like restaurants and hotels and so forth.
I was just curious, because like where I live, CR&R is not the hauler where I live. There's 11 other ones apparently.
Mhm.
And nobody in my neighborhood has heard anything about it. And everybody still is just throwing everything into one gigantic dumpster. So I was just curious.
They will eventually hear about it.
I know, but yeah, that's a city problem. Okay, that's all my.
Yes, Judy.
The buckets that you have, what do you do if, with the contents, how soon do you get rid of it and how? Like one time I opened mine and it had all gone liquid.
It depends. I mean, it really depends what you're putting in there. I use mine a lot for coffee grounds and like vegetable prep. If I personally happen to have meat or something, I'll take it out to my organics bin outside. Again, it really depends what you have. I think another great solution that I've learned that you guys are all used to it because you've had, or except for you, you've had organic bins for a long time. Yeah, you see it happen, but after it gets serviced, especially right now, last week was so hot and humid, they're a mess and it stinks, but it no kidding takes less than 3 minutes just to hose it out, and mine looks brand new and it really makes a difference. Also, we've been getting from the last week, we've been getting a lot of complaints that that the driver is not fully emptying the cart, which isn't necessarily the case. I mean, they're limited in how much they can and cannot intentionally empty or not empty. It's the humidity that's making grass clippings in particular really stick to the container. So we recommend kind of layering the grass clippings with some paper, or agitating the container with a broomstick or something like that.
I have a question. You talked about the workaround that some residents have discovered with their individual bags. And then you talked about right sizing. And I was curious if the rates in Newport support right sizing. So are recyclables and organics carts, they're not less expensive, right? They're all the same.
No, they are less expensive.
They are less expensive.
They are less expensive.
So then
We're trying to encourage the
a
recycling.
resident would financially benefit if they were actively recycling and separating out their organic waste.
Right. And again, they can have up to two recycling and 2 organics at no cost, but anything more than 1 trash would be a cost.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, I should quantify that a little bit, because there are 3 different sizes of the cart containers. You can have up to 96 gallons of or 92 gallons of trash. So they could have 2 smaller trash containers as long as it stays below the 92 gallon total that they're allotted. I just want to clarify that a little bit.
But you're trying to drive the customers into separating.
Right. I mean, realistically, roughly 50% of your trash is going to be able to be recycled anyway.
Well, when you started your presentation saying that they could just have whatever they wanted, I just felt like somebody socked me in the face. It was just a lot to
It's
take in.
shocking. It's crazy how much is just piled out there.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Elodie.
I just had a follow-up question. So the knock and talk, that's really, it seems like that would be the best way to really engage with people one-on-one to explain everything. Are you guys doing any other outreach in addition to that?
We've done community meetings, we've done community events. We have done a ton of mailing. It's crazy how much we're spending on mailing as part of that contract to mail things out. But the personal engagement is the fun part for us. And personally for me, the fun part for me is taking somebody who's adamant about not doing it and then explaining it to them, and then they do it, and then calling back later saying, you know what, you were right. This is easy, and I'm surprised how much less waste I'm creating. No other questions. Thank you guys very much.
Proceed on to item number 6 too, because Mike Weiss has graciously agreed to stick around.
Oh,
Might be
excellent.
running
Yeah, I was gonna
some
ask about that,
questions. So
Perfect. Yes.
Great.
So we'll move on to item B6, provide comments and suggestions to CMSD's rollout plan for implementing a 3-cart solid waste collection system.
great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, as a refresher, with SB 1383, 2022, jurisdictions have to start recycling their green waste and food scraps. And the goal of the state is to divert statewide 50% of the organics away from the landfill. So right now, our current system, the way our mixed waste system, we are in compliance with SB 1383. We confirm that with Cal Recycle. We are currently in compliance. So the big change is going to be in 2025, and that's when the states needs to try to divert 75%. In order for us to continue with our mixed waste collection system, we have to bring our materials to a certified high diversion facility that can divert up to 75% of the materials. The problem is, as we know, no one is willing to make that investment, converting their facilities. We know CR&R does not want to make the investment to convert their facilities into a high diversion facility, which is why we're considering going to the 3-cart system. And basically how that would simply work, as you know, you have your 2 mixed waste carts, right? And you have one organic, you possibly might have 4 organic carts. So the plan is we're going to take away one of the mixed waste carts and replace that with a 90-gallon blue cart. That was the plan, right? And the plan was to roll that out in 2023. Staff met with the Solid Waste Ad Hoc Committee on July 26, and in your staff report was proposed logistics and rollout plan. And I can tell you right now, you can see right now what's going on is CNR is conducting a cart audit. So they're going on to all the homes to determine how many carts you had. You just heard from Mike Carey says, if you have more than 3 carts, then you're going to get a letter from CR&R and said you don't give us back this cart, we're going to charge you this monthly rate, right? So we want to get a more accurate account of the cart. So that's ongoing right now. We're hopefully get the first review by the end of the month. And then when we rolled out the organic recycling program back in 2015, we told residents that you can be exempt from the program. You can be exempt for receiving organic carts, meaning you don't have any space for your carts, or maybe you just don't generate a lot of food waste. We will exempt you. To date, we exempted 2,000 units, 2,000 homes. And according to Cal Recycle, we are no longer allowed to do that. And so, in your staff report, the plan was to roll out into this year the organic carts to the exempt property owners. And then, as you see in your staff report, then in earlier of 2023, we really do an aggressive campaign on the 3-cart system, and then we start rolling out the blue carts in June with implementation in July. Now, since we prepared the staff report and presented to the CEC, there has been some changes in the rollout plan, and that was discussed at the board yesterday. CR&R brought up a suggestion, and staff agreed to it, and the board agreed to it as well as yesterday, and that was to roll out the blue cart system until 2025. Wait till January 2025. And the reason for that is by then SB 1383 will be in place in 3 years. Regulations might be amended because maybe the state's going to, we think the state might think, achieving 75% diversion is very difficult. Maybe we should amend the regulations. We're also hearing that by the fall of this year, the Cal Recycle is going to be certifying high diversion facilities for 75%. So we want to know where those are. So it's a possibility maybe we take our materials to that facility. So that leaves us the options. And also it gives us more time to educate, really. Educate is really important. And so yesterday the board approved possibly delaying the 2025. What they requested is every 6 months, we give them an update on any changes from Cal Recycle, any new information about SB 1383. So every December and July, we will come back to the board with the latest, greatest news from SB 1383, and then make a decision if we're going to continue to implement the blue carts in 2025, or we could implement sooner. And so that is the plan right now. And so happy to answer any questions you may have on our plan or our plan or the blue carts or whatever you have on SB 1383.
Art, I just want to double check. So we are in compliance technically now?
We are technically in compliance right now because we're the state is diverting 50%. We are using our mixed waste. CRNR did confirm with us today that CRNR did certify their facility as a high diversion for 50% diversion. So we are meeting that part of the mandate.
So for SB 1383, we would be in compliance until the January 2025 is what you're saying.
Yes, if we stick to the mixed waste collection system and we're not taking our materials to a certified high diversion facility, then we would not be in compliance. And so the state would find us at fault, say you're not in compliance, and they would, come down on us. Right. Correct.
What percentage of systems have that mixed cart? It just seems like a lot of cities have the 3-cart system in place.
Yeah, vast majority do. I know there's a couple of cities, I believe Highland out in San Bernardino has a mixed waste system. And there was another city, there's a few out there, but I would say, Mike, you can confirm 95% of the organizations out there are 3-cart systems, but there are a few out there. In fact, I should talk Nabila, who went to the conference in Oceanside. She said there was a jurisdiction that's using a mixed waste system, and they found a high diversion facility. They're going to keep the mixed waste system. So it was quite interesting what she learned from that conference. So, yes. If they keep a second mixed waste cart, you're saying about another. So you have 2 mixed waste cart. You can keep it, but there'll be a charge, like an $8 a month charge on it. Yes, right. Because remember the intent is to change people's behavior to generate less trash, right? So we want.
Even if they're generating trash, it doesn't necessarily mean they won't still need that 4th cart.
Yeah, sure. So a suggestion is that if there's maybe you're doing a clean out in your home and you create you have a lot of bags of trash, you do have a large item collections that you can put out up to 10 items. All right, you actually can put up to 30 items.
My house, we always felt where will that extra trash go if we also use the blue cart or the 3rd cart? And then we have this other mixed waste that still needs to be thrown away. Now we have to pay for that extra cart.
Well, I guess the suggestion is maybe if you get that blue cart and you start source separating all your recyclables, you might not need that second mixed waste cart. So my suggestion is you can hold on to it and pay that fee, but maybe you'll learn as your behavioral changes that you're throwing most of your recyclable waste. You're not going to need that mixed waste cart because your recyclables are going to the blue cart. It's possible, but yeah. And I know that's especially for large families, like large families, it's yeah, it's yeah, right. Yeah, I feel you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. No, I think it'll be more beneficial for us. I mean, it'll give us more time to educate the public, do some town hall meetings and stuff like that. So
And this might come up. Do we have similar knock and talk things in our contract?
that's something we're looking at bringing in the contract. In fact, that's something we discussed today with CRNR. We still going to move forward with the contract, and then we could actually put like the start date and on January 2025 or sooner. That contract will have liquidated damages. Our plan is to bring that draft contract to the CEC in November. So you'll have that in November, and then the plan is to have the board adopt that agreement in December of this year. And so in that agreement, we'll have the community outreach would be like that, the knocking on the door, like you said, with CRNR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed to be worked very effective. So I think we would definitely want to explore that. Absolutely. Well, you know, in all honesty, I think that was one of the reasons why we wanted to delay it, to make sure that there is enough staff to make sure,
I did see that before.
you know, right. So there's enough staff. We have the trucks, the drivers. So that's another benefit. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, thanks.
That brings us back up to B4.
Yes. Right, so it kind of ties in what we just talked about. So I believe the CAC wanted us to come back to share with you what, you know, what actually goes in the blue card. So we roll out the blue cards in 2025. What are we going to tell the public that what goes in there? So in your staff report, it explains what materials are accepted. It's basically the same stuff you're throwing into your trash right now. Which is, you know, newspapers, cardboard, glass, plastics, aluminum, tin, and also what you have in your attachments are some sample literature or educational brochures that has given out in the community. So I think it's really helpful in describing what goes into the blue cards. You can see in the attachments, they really distinguish here what goes in the black cards or the brown card, whatever you want to call it, and here what goes in the blue cards, and here goes in the green cards. So something very similar to what you see in the attachment is something we will be doing as well.
I found a couple of, it's just very helpful, and I really liked having all the attachments from the motion side. And you for each, there were a couple things, not inconsistencies, but things that I think in the past and all the conversations, there's been some back and forth on if they're allowed in the organic bin or not. I just want to double check. So Oceanside, the lengthier on page 7, it talks about that food foil paper towels are allowed in the organic bin as well as food foil pizza boxes and meat bones.
But I think, yeah, you got to understand that some cities are taking their organics, different materials than we are.
Right.
So I think or Oceanside, they're probably composting it, right? Are you taking the composting? Do you know?
Waste management is slurrying it.
Yeah.
So
different.
different agencies and haulers have different processes, so they have to do different things.
Okay.
So there will be some inconsistency of what one jurisdiction does another
No, I
because
just
of how
wanted
they're
to have
disposing
better
organics.
answers.
Yep.
So we still get, so chicken bones, those are still.
No, yeah, I'm fine.
Fine. Okay, thank you. And then I also saw on the Oceanside packet page 1, it mentioned that you, again, I'm assuming this is per district or municipality, but you can use a plastic laundry or is that, I assume specific to Oceanside, but we're not.
Right. You can use a compostable bag in our organics bag,
Right.
or paper bag or newspaper, which you can't use a plastic bag. Yeah.
And our technology has a bag splitter and is able to separate plastics out, but we're really trying to downplay that because it goes against what we're actually trying to do by getting away from plastic in the first place.
That makes perfect sense. I have had some people ask about the smell and why can't we bag it? If we bag regular, so.
I think I've also compostable bags though that they sell everywhere now, which before they did it.
Yes, I know. You're right.
And now you can get like the little compost. Small pail bags, you can get the kitchen size bags, they have them readily available to purchase where they.
Agreed.
You have to know they didn't.
I remember 5 years ago when we rolled out the program, it was a struggle finding compostable bags. It really was. Now they're everywhere. Yeah.
Those brown bags, those have been great.
Oh, great.
They help line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Michael, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions or comments at this time. This information is really helpful to me as well, so no comments. Thanks.
Thank you. I mean, I know we're talking about delaying the blue cart until 2025, so this isn't quite as urgent as it was when we came up with the idea to include it, but I was just wondering, so I'm on Nextdoor, which is this app that kind of, it's Facebook for.
Yeah, we're
neighborhood.
members of that now too.
Or are you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I've been seeing, so I guess Santa Ana might have moved into, it used to be you could just see your neighborhood and now you can see a ton of neighborhoods.
Okay.
Anyway, there were a bunch of people, there was a thread from Santa Ana's area about SB 1383 and a bunch of complaints about rinsing out your recyclables before you throw them away. There's a water shortage. Why are they making us do this? It's going to take so much time. So I guess in anticipating this complaint or concern from neighbors, how clean do they have to be? Can you?
They had to be clean because it's because of the China sword that had happened a few years back, where all of our recyclables were going to China, and the China just put a stomp on it, said, you know, you're not sending us recyclables, you're sending us trash. And so they said, we're not going to take your recyclables unless they're 0.05%, you know, dirty. So basically, you got to rinse them out. They're really so they're clean for them to be acceptable. And that's what we're trying to do as well, is change people's behavior. You got to clean out your recyclables. You just can't, you know, pour out your spaghetti sauce and then just throw the jar into the recycling bin. It has to be rinsed out. Yeah.
CC as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, definitely. Well, no, I don't know. Chances are OCC will probably, if it's not cleaned out, they'll probably just throw it in the trash.
Well, even like the flyer in the attachment before where it showed, you know, this is what goes in the blue card. It's extremely comprehensive, except and in the bottom right-hand corner, in the teeny tiniest letters you've ever seen, it says clean and dry. Because when you're looking at them, they look clean, but it's a soup can with a label. So most people are just like, oh, okay, I throw it away. So my suggestion would be when we march down that road, it should say clean and dry at the top in huge letters.
Yeah, and you don't need to dry them. You just need to rinse them out.
You know,
Yeah, I don't dry mine out.
Tight at the bottom. Corner, I kind of-
And I kind of want to talk about, if anyone had any suggestions, because we sort of bag our recyclables and put them in the mixed waste to help us start prepping to learn how to sort, but would that help with the cross contamination, or is that more of a problem where now you're using another plastic?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. So yeah, if you put it in a bag, I would just take the bag and just empty all the contents into the blue cards. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I have a silly question. I guess it's probably not even gonna be an issue, maybe not till 2025. But obviously the carts have to go out ahead.
Right.
So in theory, if you stuck to the 2023 thing, they'd go out
From March to June, but you don't want people to use them from July until July 1st.
Yeah, well, we thought about that because originally we were going to say March through June, but we were revised that if we would have stuck to the 2023 date, we were going to do all the delivery in June. Because you're right, because if we started sending them out in March, then people are going to start using them, and then we're going to complain, well, why wasn't my cart emptied? So we were going to roll them all out in June and making sure, hey, you start on the next month in July.
I was gonna say, because my silly question would have been, is there gonna be
a strip that takes it shut that says.
Yeah, no,
By
because we're 3 months.
no. Right, and that's why
Yeah.
that was our concern. That was our concern too. Yeah.
I saw there were 2 events coming up, and I just wanted to make sure, unless you were going to address them, the Expo and then the coastal cleanup.
What's that? Oh yeah, item number 7.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped it. Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Item B7, SSMP audit update.
So, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is just FYI. So on your work plan, we said we were going to discuss this item and I didn't want to leave it off the agenda and someone said, well, how come this item is not on the agenda? We had it on the work plan. So I'm just more for your information is that it's not ready for your review. It's out. We're out right now soliciting bids. It's on our website. We're soliciting bids for consultants to review our SSMP. Once we have the findings, we'll bring that back to the CEC for your comments.
Okay, now I think closing items. So I saw that this weekend, the sanitary district is sponsoring a coastal cleanup group.
Yes. Yes, so the CMSD does have a group that will be participating at the coastal cleanup. It is this Saturday from 9 to noon. If you'd like to join our group and be part of CMSD's effort to help clean up the Back Bay, you're welcome to sign up. There's a sign up sheet online. The second event that Chair Katz was alluding to is our Eco Expo. That's coming up on the 28th of this month. It's from 3 to 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night. It's going to be set up kind of like a little fair in here where we're going to have different tables for different items featuring SB 1383 information, things on our wastewater side, different educational opportunities for the public to come in and learn more about what we do, what our products are. And we will have a table for our CAC members to talk a little bit about what they do. If we have any volunteers who would like to come and be a part of the event, we welcome you all, and do bring your friends, your neighbors, your families, whoever you can reach out to, invite them to come. The more the merrier. We will have refreshments. We'll have some great giveaways, some awesome swag. Each table will have a swag item to give away, and they're pretty cool stuff. So yes, we encourage you all to come and participate, and we'd love to have you. Yes, it is a Wednesday evening or afternoon to evening from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. the 28th. Bring the children.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely. They can come browse. We'll have many hands.
And then is the intent of that, is that replacing the Citizens Advisory, sorry, the Citizens Environmental?
Protection Academy. This is the way that we're hosting it this year.
Okay.
It's our very first stab at an Eco Expo, so we figured it'll be a little bit more interactive. We were having trouble securing tours at the different partnering agencies due to COVID. They've suspended tours and what have you, so we figured we'd use this as an opportunity to still engage, still be interactive, do something great for the environment, clean our Back Bay, and educate the public. So
I think it's wonderful.
thank you. Thank you.
And I also saw, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I saw you guys took the initiative to give a briefing on cybersecurity at the board meeting yesterday. I just wanted to thank you for doing that, given some of the news lately. So yeah, thank you for being proactive and addressing. Any other members have any comments?
We have one comment.
Oh, yes, okay.
Sure, thank
Yeah.
you. So I do want to share with the CEC that this Saturday, I'll be driving up to LAX to pick up our YSEALI fellows. YSEALI stands for Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative. This is our second time of hosting the fellows. We're going to have two fellows, one from Cambodia and one from Laos. They'll be staying with us for 4 weeks. The Ratana from Cambodia, she is here to learn about sustainability activities on reducing plastics. Have you ever seen pictures in Cambodia of all the plastics that they accumulate in their waters and their waterways? So she wants to find best practices to reuse plastics. And then Nuni from Laos, there's two projects she wants to work on. One, she's working on the team to design and construct their first wastewater treatment plant in their country. They got a grant from Hungary to do that, and they've been working on it for a couple of years now. And then she also wants to learn about flood control and what we do for flood control. So So they're here for 4 weeks. Unfortunately, they won't be here in time for your next meeting, but they will be working at the eco event. So if you're here and you want to meet Ratana and Nooney, please join us. They will be here helping us on the event. And we're really happy to be here with us. So, yeah. So thank you.
Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 9th. Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.